thoughts. I'm gonna go ahead and pull up the scenario so we can kind of look through these together. Let's see.
I think handing out the leaflets aren't the big.
All right, someone in your group, nice and loud, want to read this top part.
A state university adopts the following policy. A student or faculty member may be suspended or expelled for any behavior, verbal or physical, that stigmatizes an individual on the basis of their race, ethnicity, religion, national origin, sex, sexual orientation, creed, ancestry, age, marital status,
Marital status.
handicap, and Vietnam veteran status.
Okay. So really quick, did anyone in your group have any words that stuck out here that you were like, ooh, this could be something that could be argued about? What words are sticking out? Suspended or expelled. I'm also gonna add in maybe. That's kind of concerning to me. What else in here do we think could lead to some arguments? Is it okay if we open it up to everybody, or you guys want first pick? Yeah, go ahead. Stigmatizes, yeah, what does stigmatize mean? Can someone look up a dictionary definition for us? I love you guys all stare me dead in the eye instead of, you can at least like pretend to be on your laptop. Sneha, are you doing that for me? Let's come back to what other words could be up for discussion. This all seemed like really clear to you. You feel like you could totally understand any,
On the basis of,
on the basis of, why is that sticking out to you?
because like, if you do something on these things, that's.
Yeah, basis is even less specific, right? Because it could be something that's even hinting at one of these things. So they're not saying, hey, you cannot say, you know, these racist words, but it could be anything that you say that's physical or verbal that could really relate to any of these issues. Yeah? Did we get stigmatized yet? We're stigmatized?
Describe or regard as worthy of disgrace or great disapproval.
I'm so sorry to ask. Do you mind saying it a lot louder?
Yeah. Describe or regard as worthy of disgrace or great disapproval.
So disgrace or great disapproval. So if I'm stigmatizing you or your actions, I don't approve of it, I'm speaking negatively about it, right? So that's why some people say, hey, there's a stigma around being a sex worker, right? People have negative thoughts, disgrace around it. Okay, I think some of these words we're gonna end up circling, but it's a good starting place. So does your group want to pick one of these to go through with us? Because basically down here, what they had to do is describe whether the following actions violate the policy. So I will tell you right now, that policy, it's pretty common. A lot of, schools and businesses have policies like this. And at first it sounds good, right? It's like, good, they hit on all this stuff. Yeah, people shouldn't be stigmatizing people, making them feel bad. But we're gonna see what that actually looks like. What number do you guys feel you want to talk about? The first one? Okay. After writing a limerick, what's a limerick? Oh, thank you. After writing a limerick for an assignment, a student reads it aloud in his English class. It makes fun of the reported homosexual acts of a politician. So again, we know that some politicians have been outed for, being homosexual. And so this is saying that there's reported acts. So people had read about it in the news or saw it on social media. So this kid wrote a poem, read aloud to the class, making fun of that politician and his alleged actions. Do y'all kind of get the situation? Are there questions about the situation? Help me out, people, I know we're tired, but you're making me suffer here. All right, let's get into it. Do you all think that this is in violation of the policy? Yes, why? Well, I like that you're bringing out makes fun of. I have a lot of questions about that. Like, what does that look like? That seems like it would be pretty hard. Like, I don't know if I would feel like I had enough to go straight to like expelling that student, but I mean, makes fun of. I think probably all of us, if I stood up and said something, you would know if I was ridiculing somebody or making fun of them, but who's to say? What do you guys think? Like if you were in this class and you saw a student stand in front of the class and read a poem making fun of this politician, would you feel like it went against the discrimination policy? Yeah? Why? Kind of like, let's work through it. Again, don't be afraid, you're not gonna be wrong when I feel like that's a dumb idea. I'm genuinely like, kind of wondering where that's coming from. Yep. Say more. Okay, I mean, it is a university, so these are not high school students. These are people who are ideally over the age of 18. So, I mean, that's something to think about. I'm also, I guess, to me as an adult, as somebody who, again, thinks about all the time, students do stuff, and I'm like, can I really prove that they did something wrong? And I think this is a little bit, I'm concerned with the makes fun of. Because if I was like, hey, Loki, you're in trouble for this, Loki could come back with his parents and say, no, that was misinterpreted. I was not making fun of it. I was merely talking about it. And also, again, it comes down to word choice. I would, but then also in this policy, it's so vague that it does leave a lot of area for, again, you don't think that they should be suspended, other people might. It really depends. And in general, again, I'm not going to call you out, so don't feel too weird. Just with what you know about the situation, raise your hand if you think this student should be punished for what they've done. The situation is after writing a limerick for an assignment, a student reads it aloud in an English class. It makes fun of the reported homosexual acts of a politician. Raise your hand if this student needs some sort of consequences for what he's done. Hands down. Raise your hand if you're like, yeah, it's just a little bit too vague. I don't know if we can really get him on it. Okay, let's keep going. I know, again, I know you're tired after lunch here, but help me out. What's another one you guys want to go over that you think might be helpful for us? Or you can just say the next one. Loki, you want to go over number 2? That sounds good. Great, thank you, people. Oh my gosh. Okay, number 2, we're not going to go through all of them. There are several here, and I encourage you all to look at them because they are pretty thought-provoking. Number 2, a white student writes an article on race relations for the school newspaper. It points out that African Americans are more likely than whites to become criminals in America, which is one reason why whites do not mix more with African Americans. So this is in the school newspaper. This is an opinion piece that, well, I should say, I guess I don't know if it's an opinion piece. It says African Americans are more likely than whites to become criminals in America. Again, I'm curious if this is an editorial or not, meaning opinion based. What are our thoughts about this situation? Do we think this is in violation of policy? Yeah, because we're so talkative before lunch, we've lost our momentum. What do we think, Fiona?
I think it's like pretty important. Like, why are you talking about like race? Like, I know like race isn't really such a big deal in mine. I don't know. I really think race shouldn't matter at all. But this article, it sounds like this is not getting about. I think it sounds like a little bit biased because like I want evidence to back this up because I honestly believe that like why would you put this out there without like proof? Like I personally this has like to bias. Like,
Right.
There's no proof. There's no evidence. Like why would I believe this? Because I didn't say this.
Because I have a lot of questions. I want to sit down with a student and have them explain to me what they meant. Because the first part was it points out that African Americans are more likely than whites to become criminals in America. I mean, just in terms of data and numbers, it is data correct that you are more likely to, be in our criminal justice system, serve prison time if you are a person of color, certainly. However, to say they're more likely to become criminals, that's just not fact. We don't have hard evidence to prove that. The part that's really getting me is where it says, which is the reason why, which is one reason why whites do not mix more with African Americans. That's the part that I think it absolutely stigmatizes a group. And that immediately, that student's probably gonna come in and say like, oh, I didn't mean that, it was misinterpreted, but I would say, personally, I'd be like, nah. Like that last part was unnecessary, and I can't imagine what other purpose you would have in sharing that unless, you were trying to do that, right? Actually, I'd like to go over the third one, if you guys don't mind, because, this is something that actually I experienced when I went to Seattle U. So the athletic director schedules the varsity club's awards dinner on a major Jewish holiday. Several Jewish athletes are unable to attend. What do we think about this? Doesn't matter.
It does not.
How can I prove if somebody did something on purpose?
Unless they know like their true intention, but it's possible.
Rachel, do you think it matters if it was done on purpose? If this athletic director was like, yeah, like, I don't care about this holiday. Rachel, it doesn't really matter. Fascinating. Okay. So do we think this is stigmatizing? But just, again, let's say we don't know his reasons. Let's say it was an accident. He just didn't know about Jewish holidays. Do we think this goes against the policy? No. Why?
It's not like stigmatizing like the youth, because it just happened to end up on that holiday.
Yeah, but we don't schedule things on Christian holidays. So is that kind of favoring one religion over another? You would never have like a sports banquet on Christmas Day or Easter or something like that, It's certainly, in our country in general, we favor Christian holidays and traditions. So those Jewish athletes are not gonna be able to attend this banquet because, the person didn't put in the work to try and care. Yeah, especially.
Because he didn't use a verbal or physical act against Jewish, if he did it on purpose, it would have been to stigmatize or however,
It does say any behavior though.
any behavior, but that stigmatizes the individual. What is stigmatizing the individual?
Stigmatizes, disgraces them, treats them less than.
Treats them less than. And he wasn't stigmatizing them if he didn't know. Because unless he was like, yeah, I'm gonna do this because I don't like them. That's
Yeah.
stigmatizing. But he was like, oh, I'm sorry, I just didn't know. Not stigmatizing.
To add onto that, I think the fact that they're unaware because something just acts like a bank holiday. So the fact that they're simply just unaware of such a holiday was there, and if any Jewish athlete didn't reach out to them about it, then we can't really blame it on the athletic director. I get you wouldn't host one on Christmas, but that's also the personal knowledge of what that person themselves know about. And there's so many holidays across the world. We wouldn't just know about every single one.
So the reason this is interesting to me, because when I was in grad school at Seattle University, it was a 1-year intensive program. And their rule was that you could not miss more than 2 days the entire year. It was, again, a full day. It was genuinely crammed with information. So you could not miss more than 2 days. Well, there was an Orthodox Jewish student who said, well, there are 3 Jewish holidays that I have to miss. So I have to miss these 5 days. And Seattle University said, well, then you cannot participate in this program. Because our rule is you cannot miss more than 2 days because there's so much work being covered. And we can't make an exception for you because then other people can make exceptions for other reasons, right? It's a slippery slope. If I let you have these holidays, what's to say that you don't have other holidays, right? So this student was not able to participate in the program. And yes, they went to a different university, but I mean, yeah, the decision wasn't necessarily to attack her and her Jewish faith. However, she was excluded from something because her faith said that she had to not be at work and doing those kinds of things on those days. Do we think that that was stigmatizing her as a Jewish person? I mean, if you're kept from doing stuff because of your religion, I mean, isn't that kind of stigmatizing your religion?
You see the story yesterday?
Yeah, so one of my classmates in grad school was a Jewish student, and there was 5 holidays or days that she had to miss total. The university's policy was that you could not miss more than 2 days, or else you got no credit. So she went to the university and said, well, I have to miss these days for religious reasons. And the university said, well, unfortunately, this program it's not gonna work for you then, because you cannot miss those 5 days, that's too many days. So the question is, I mean, was she being stigmatized in that situation? Was she being treated negatively because of her religion? Okay, Sam.
Personally, I think it was fine, like, that she was able to participate in that program. It's also her personal choice. The fact that she goes to those holidays. Or it might be like a family thing, but I think changing rules for one person, like, because also, like I said, it was like a career thing, right? So you needed all that information. So like taking that into account, if she misses those days where that essential information is being given out, right? And the whole reason you go to like grad school or whatever that was is like get your degree, and you should only get your degree when you actually get a content. So I think like, but
All right, let's take the situation to more of an extreme. How many of you are not allowed to wear hoods or hats in school? I think that's kind of mostly going away. However, say I said there's no hoods or hats allowed in this class, and there's a student with a turban and another student wearing a hijab. The rule for safety purposes is you cannot have a hood on. You cannot have your head covered. Because, again, I don't know if you have headphones in. Again, I don't know what you have under there. So would you think it would be acceptable for me to tell those students that they could not take this class because they have to wear their various head coverings?
I'm just like, I'm gonna ask you a question, I'm just curious, how come, like, with like most high schools, they allow that, like, let's say that rule was like still kind of like strictly in place, they allow people to wear it up, like, how come like the college didn't allow, like, the extra day? I know this is a clear question, but I'm just like, I'm genuinely just curious, how come, like.
So my guess, I don't know, I mean, because attendance is important, and so you make these rules, right? Schools do all the time, like you can't have more than this many unexcused absences or whatever. And there's always people who have excuses, right? Or reasons. Sometimes they're reasons, sometimes they're excuses. But you know, for a student who, again, say misses 50 school days throughout the year, that's not good. They should have consequences for that. However, what if it was for a very good reason? And so sometimes schools, because it's a private university, you don't have to go there, they can say things like, again, like you have to be here for those 2 days. The question is whether it's wrong, like whether that Jewish student is being kept from, it's excluding, right? Basically, if you are Jewish, you are not able to take that program because you are not gonna be able to miss those sacred holidays. Yeah, for some of us it might be hard to understand because we're like, oh, maybe those of us who are not particularly religious, maybe are like, can't you just go to school? She's choosing to stay home. But for some people in their religion, those are literally days that you are not to work. You are not supposed to be going to school. So my read of it was that it was hugely problematic, and I think that she did take action against the university and got that changed. But yeah, because perhaps it wasn't saying anything negative about her and her Jewish religion, but I mean the behaviors and the actions made her so that she could not attend there.
Yeah, I think, like, yeah, I agree with you, like, personally, it's odd, because I just think back into that rule where it's like, you made a good point with the hood thing, it's like, it's odd that, like, you allow that, but you're not allowed to do this kind of thing, because it's still from a religious purpose, it's not just saying, oh, I'm not going just because I don't wanna go, it has, like, a valid reason behind it.
But what's valid, right? I mean, we also had a student in my class who had fibromyalgia and was in a lot of pain and missed lots of days because she physically could not get out of bed. The university didn't buy it, and she did not get her graduate degree from there. So that's the hard thing is, again, but I think that's why it's easier to make hard and fast rules. But that's why, again, a lot of you don't see no hood, no hat policies, because as a teacher, if a student walks into my class and says that they are wearing something covering their head for religious purposes, I'm certainly not going to demand they remove it for the sake of a rule. Well, then if I'm not gonna force you to remove your religious covering, well, then how could I ask Pedro to remove his hat? I mean, right, because Pedro could make the argument that it is his right to have his head covered, other people have their head covered, right? We talk about precedent, it's really hard to hold fast to those rules, but.
Kind of odd hearing, like, even someone about like fibromyalgia. It's kind of odd how, like, I don't know, I like notice this sometimes, like, the religion is sometimes called like fibromyalgia condition. I don't know, and that's just like, it's, to me, it's weird.
Yeah.
I think it's odd, 'cause, like, I had a student, like, you know, I had like a kid in my class that like had, so that was barely here, like, he got his work done, but it was barely here. And so it's just odd.
It's really hard. I mean, again, I've had students say, I'm sorry I missed the last 2 weeks, I was in a deep depressive funk. And I think, wow, that's really hard, and I can respect that. And also, you missed 2 weeks where we did our mock trial and our finals and all this stuff. It's very challenging, it's hard to accommodate everybody, but yeah, I guess that's why this policy is kind of broad. I'm interested, it seems like times are changing, because people in the past have felt differently about it, but. I wanna do one more, then we'll have a little break activity. But let's go to the next one, group 2. Hopefully we can engage a little bit more, again, I know you're super tired. If you need to stand up, that's okay. If you need to do other things. Someone in group 2 wanna go ahead and read this scenario aloud to us. You can say Forsyth County, and again, if you don't know how to pronounce something, it's okay, I'm not gonna judge you.
With the whole thing.
Yeah.
Forsyth County, Georgia is a predominantly white rural area outside of Atlanta. Historically, Forsyth County has had significant racial troubles. Following civil rights marches, Forsyth County enacted an ordinance that allowed a county administrator to use her discretion in determining what fee to charge for a parade permit. With the
Time out really quick, what's discretion? Judgment. So it's up to her. Sorry, go ahead.
The county's administrator's determination of a fee took into consideration the potential expense required for security should the parade crowd become hostile to the marchers.
The nationalist movement proposed a march in opposition to the holiday in honor of Martin Luther King Jr. This organization was charged $100 for a parade permit. However, the fee was not paid. Instead, the nationalist movement wanted to march without any interference from the county. The county argued that the ordinance and fee constituted a legitimate time, place, manner regulation based on a content-neutral determination of expenses that might be incurred. The nationalist movement argued that the ordinance and subsequent fee constituted a content-based regulation based on the organization's message.
Okay, so long story short, this county says, hey, everybody, you can have your parade, you can have your protest, because you can't just go protest on the sidewalk, you can't, but you're supposed to have a permit. And they do that for safety reasons, right? So if I want to have, again, a teacher strike, which that does happen, I would go to the county and say, hey, us teachers are gonna be striking, we wanna have our picket signs, we're gonna be kind of marching along these streets, and these streets. And the county goes, thank you for letting us know. It's noted, we'll make sure police are aware in case anything gets crazy. Now, a teacher strike is not really gonna get a lot of, violence typically, but can someone tell me what the nationalist movement is? What do they think?
They think like white supremacists.
Yeah, they're white supremacists. Neo-Nazis, if you will. So what's happening, the rule in this town is, hey, you are allowed to get a permit. However, you might have to pay up to $1,000 depending on if this county administrator, a worker there, thinks that it could cost money to have for different protections. So again, if I'm a teacher strike, they're probably gonna waive the fee because they're like, cops probably not gonna have to get involved. Now, if I'm holding a pride rally in a predominantly very conservative area, I'm probably gonna have to pay some fee to have some protections from the county, right? In this case, the problem here is it says her discretion again. It's up to this one woman. This woman was gonna sit there and be like, oh yeah, you need to pay $1,000, you need to pay $500, you don't need to pay anything. But so the nationalist movement said, hey, we want to march in opposition, so against a Martin Luther King Jr. Day celebration. So it's Martin Luther King Jr. Day, they're doing a rally, and white supremacists are like, we want to be there too, to have our own march against this event. Which, as we kind of discussed, freedom of speech, I suppose, I guess. But the county said, okay, you're gonna have to pay $1,000 because that's a pretty hostile situation. There's probably gonna be violence that comes out, even if you don't intend to. You have to pay the fine. What they're saying is that is stigmatizing them. That is treating them negatively because of their freedom of speech and religion. What are our initial thoughts on that? Do we agree with the nationalist movement? Should they be able to do this for free? Should they have to pay the fine? Group 2, what you guys say?
You said that they should pay the fine, but we should pay like a standardized, like kind of like a deposit which you put in. So like everyone, let's say it's like $50. So like no matter what your movement is, like if it's a teacher movement or if it's like a nationalist movement, they would all pay $50.
Yeah.
And based on how much like enforcement of the protection is needed, that money would be taken from that deposit and the rest would be returned. Because like what we thought is like protection is really necessary, especially because like it's not only to protect the people in the movement, but those that the people in the movement might like attack. It's not like stigmatizing them, but it's just like everyone.
And that's why, so what they have on here, to kind of give context, I mean, some of you also saw this in your scenarios, it's called time, place, and manner. What that means is your protest or your demonstration, it depends on the time. So the fact that they're having this march on Martin Luther King Jr. Day, yeah, you're probably gonna have some people more upset than if you were doing it on a random Tuesday, right? So the time is going to make people very angry that you're having your protest at the same time. So there's time. Place, again, are you doing it out in front of a school building? Are you doing it in a neighborhood? Are you doing it on a school campus? The place matters, right? Because it could get more volatile and dangerous depending on where you are. And then manner, are you marching with banners? Are you burning a cross on someone's lawn? Are you standing in front of a certain person's house to intimidate them? All these things matter. If you're trying to look at a protest and say, okay, this person should not be able to protest, you have to think of time, place, and manner. You're not supposed to think of the actual content of it, which is white people are superior to all the races. However, I think most of us, that matters, right? If you're having a Martin Luther King Jr. rally and I said I also wanted to have a pride rally at the same time, you might feel a bit differently, right? So in that case, I mean, I like your idea. I think that's a creative idea, that the idea of a deposit. In this, again, it's her discretion that I really take issue with. And the point of this was mostly getting you to understand time, place, and manner. Okay. Let's pause for a second. I'm gonna need a couple things. I need everyone to go over there, but I need the ping pong table to be moved back up against the wall for a moment. So everyone go over to that side of the room. If we can get a person or two to the